Some places are built to shelter us. Others are built to destroy us. There is a house standing alone at the edge of town, where a single room is said to be alive. Not alive like you and me, but alive with hunger. Waiting for footsteps, waiting for voices, waiting for anyone foolish enough to step inside. People say once the door shuts behind you, it never opens again. They don't call it a bedroom, a kitchen, or a hall. They call it only one thing: the room that eats people. This story is divided into 6 chapters, so watch full story. Chapter 1. The Invitation. The town of Greyditch had many legends, but none older than the story of the house at the hill's edge. Children whispered about it, daring each other to touch its rotting fence. Adults avoided it altogether, pretending it wasn't there. The house had no lights, no furniture, and yet one room inside was always locked. They called it the room that eats people. Nobody could prove it was true, but nobody could prove it wasn't. On a late October evening, 4 friends decided to find out for themselves. Marcus, the loud one, claimed he didn't believe in ghost stories. Lila, quiet and skeptical, just wanted proof. Darren, the joker, wanted to film everything for his online channel. And Emily, the nervous one, begged them not to go. Still, curiosity was stronger than fear. And so, with flashlights and cameras, they approached the abandoned house. The wind rattled the loose shutters. The air smelled like damp wood and mold. The front door hung crooked, half broken, as if waiting for them. Marcus laughed and pushed it open with his foot. The sound should have echoed through the empty halls, but it didn't. The silence inside swallowed everything. Even their footsteps seemed muted, like the floor absorbed the sound. "Creepy, huh?" Darren whispered. His voice came out flat, dead, as though the air refused to carry it. Emily shivered. "I don't like this," she muttered. "It's just an old house," Marcus insisted, though his grin faltered. They walked deeper into the hall. The wallpaper peeled like skin. Rust-colored stains ran across the wooden floor. Some stains looked too much like dried blood. Cobwebs hung thick in the corners, but there were no spiders, no insects, no rats. The house was dead silent, as if nothing lived here. And yet, the silence felt full, heavy, watching. At the end of the hall was a door unlike the others. While the rest were faded and cracked, this one looked newer. The wood was dark, polished and smooth, untouched by dust. A faint shine clung to the brass doorknob. "That must be it," Marcus said, smirking. "The famous room." Emily's stomach churned. "Let's just look around the rest of the house," she pleaded. "Not that door." Darren raised his camera, filming. "This is perfect," he whispered. "If we open it, views will go crazy." Marcus put his hand on the knob, but it didn't turn. Locked. He pulled harder, but it wouldn't budge. "Guess we need a key," Lila said quietly. Marcus grinned. "Or we break it down." Before Emily could protest, Marcus slammed his shoulder into the door. The wood groaned, but didn't give. Darren laughed nervously. "Dude, this house is like 100 years old. Don't kill yourself." Marcus stepped back, breathing hard. "Fine. Maybe later." The 4 explored the other rooms. Empty bedrooms with broken furniture. A kitchen with rusted pots and shattered plates. A dining room where chairs faced an invisible dinner guest. Each room colder than the last. Each one too quiet. Emily swore she heard breathing behind her, but when she turned, nothing was there. By the time they regrouped at the hallway, the sky outside had turned black. The house felt even heavier in the dark. Their flashlights flickered as though fighting against the shadows. "We should leave," Emily whispered. "It's late." But Marcus shook his head. "Not until we open that room." He raised a crowbar Darren had found in the kitchen. Emily grabbed his arm. "Don't, please, something is wrong here." Marcus laughed. "That's the point." He jammed the crowbar into the frame. The wood cracked, splintering. A groaning sound filled the hallway. This time it wasn't the door. The sound came from inside the walls. Low, hungry. Everyone froze. The house seemed to breathe, pulling the air from their lungs. The doorknob rattled on its own. Marcus's grin faded into pale shock. "Did you see that?" Lila whispered. Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I told you," she whispered. "We were never supposed to come here." Chapter 2. The first entry. The hallway was still shaking after the groan faded. Dust rained down from the ceiling, filling the air like ash. Darren lowered his camera, his hands trembling. "Please tell me someone else heard that," he whispered. "It was just the wood," Marcus muttered, though his voice cracked. Emily shook her head violently. "That wasn't wood. That was breathing." The doorknob twitched again, as if something on the other side was trying to open it. Lila stepped back, her face pale. "We need to go. Now." Marcus raised the crowbar higher, refusing to admit fear. "No, we're opening it. We came this far." Darren hesitated, torn between fear and the hunger for footage. Emily grabbed his sleeve, whispering frantically, Don't let him open it." But Marcus had already wedged the crowbar under the frame again. He pushed with all his strength. The wood screamed as it splintered apart. A sharp crack echoed through the house. Then silence. The silence was worse than the sound. Thick, pressing, suffocating silence. With one last shove, the door swung open. The hinges shrieked like metal tearing. Darkness spilled out of the room, blacker than night, not shadows, not absence of light. Something thicker, heavier. It was like looking into a mouth, an endless, hungry mouth. Marcus smirked, though sweat dripped down his temples. See? Nothing there. But his flashlight beam didn't pass through the doorway. The light bent, swallowed, disappearing after just a few feet. The beam looked like it was being eaten. Darren's voice cracked. That's not normal." Emily backed away, shaking her head. "Close it. Please, close it again." Marcus laughed, but the sound was weak. "Scared of the dark? Watch this." He stepped forward, placing one foot across the threshold. The floorboards groaned, deep and heavy like a stomach growling. Everyone froze. "Did you hear that?" Lila whispered. It sounded like she couldn't finish the sentence. Marcus forced a grin. "You guys are overreacting." He pushed further into the dark. The blackness swallowed half his body. His flashlight beam vanished completely. Only the faint outline of his back was visible. Then his voice, shaky but defiant. "See? I'm fine." A pause. Then a low, wet sound echoed from the room, like something dripping, like something chewing. Marcus turned his head quickly. "What was that?" His voice sounded muffled, as if the room was swallowing it. Emily screamed, "Marcus, come back!" He spun around and stepped toward the door, but the floor stretched beneath him, pulling him deeper inside. It wasn't visible, but it was there, like quicksand in solid wood. He stumbled, cursing. "Something's wrong." Darren lunged forward, grabbing Marcus's arm. "Hold on," he shouted. For a moment, Marcus's body strained halfway out of the doorway. The air howled, though no wind blew. Then something unseen yanked him back. Hard. Darren almost lost his grip. Marcus screamed, but the sound twisted into a gurgle. Emily and Lila grabbed Darren, pulling him backward. Together, they dragged Marcus free of the darkness. He collapsed onto the hallway floor, gasping for breath. His arm was bleeding. Thin lines ran across his skin, deep and jagged like bite marks. But there were too many, too small, hundreds of tiny teeth marks. "What the hell was that?" Darren shouted, staring at the wounds. Marcus panted, eyes wide with terror. "It's alive," he whispered. "The room, it tried to eat me," Emily cried out, shaking her head. "I told you, we shouldn't be here." Lila's eyes filled with tears. "We have to leave. Now." But Marcus looked back at the dark doorway. The shadows pulsed, almost like they were breathing. His voice trembled as he spoke. "It's not done with us yet." And the door, slowly, creaked shut on its own. Chapter 3. The Hunger. The door clicked shut with a final, heavy thud. None of them touched it. The sound echoed through the hallway, even though everything else in the house was silent. Darren's camera trembled in his hands. The red light blinked weakly, recording every second. Emily clung to his arm, whispering, "We need to go. We have to leave now." Marcus sat against the wall, still clutching his bleeding arm. His eyes were unfocused, darting toward the closed door. "It's hungry," he whispered. "It's always hungry." Lila crouched in front of him, trying to steady her voice. "Marcus, look at me. You're in shock. You need help." He shook his head violently. "No, didn't you hear it? It pulled me in. It wants us." Darren swallowed hard. "We're not staying long enough to find out." He pulled Emily and Lila to their feet. "We're leaving. Now." They rushed to the front door. Darren twisted the knob. It didn't move. He shoved his shoulder into it. The wood didn't budge. It was as if the house itself had locked them in. Emily's breathing turned ragged. "We're trapped." Darren cursed under his breath, slamming the door again. The whole frame shuddered but stayed shut. From upstairs, a deep creak echoed. Heavy, slow, like footsteps, but heavier, as if something far too big was moving above them. "Someone's here," Lila whispered. Darren shook his head. "No one's lived here in years." The creaking grew louder, moving toward the staircase. Emily pressed herself against the wall, trembling. Marcus staggered to his feet, still pale. "It's the house," he said weakly. "It's alive. It doesn't want us to leave." The sound stopped. Silence fell, pressing against their ears. Then, slowly, the locked door behind them groaned. The doorknob rattled again, twisting on its own. Emily whimpered, "It wants us back." Darren raised the crowbar, pointing it toward the door. His hands shook so badly it clanged against the wood. The house seemed to exhale. A cold gust swept down the hallway, extinguishing their flashlights. Darkness swallowed them whole. Emily screamed, but her voice was muffled, as if the air absorbed it. In the blackness, something shifted. A wet, slithering sound, like flesh dragging across wood. Lila fumbled with her phone, turning on its flashlight. The beam cut through the dark. Something glistened on the floorboards. A slick black stain pulsing like it was alive. It spread slowly toward them, inch by inch. Marcus stumbled back, clutching his wounded arm. "It's the room," he gasped. "It's reaching out." Darren swung the crowbar at the stain. The metal struck the floor, splintering the wood. The black substance shuddered, then shot upward like liquid claws. It lashed against his leg, burning through his jeans. Darren screamed, stumbling backward. Emily grabbed him, pulling him free, but the stain left blistering marks on his skin. "It touched me," Darren cried, his voice cracking. "It's eating through me." The stain recoiled, sliding back toward the closed door. It disappeared under the crack, slurping into the darkness. The hallway was silent again, but not empty. They could feel the house watching. Darren leaned against the wall, panting. His leg burned with deep, oozing welts. Emily tried to steady him, but her hands shook violently. Lila whispered, "We're not safe anywhere in here." Marcus nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the door. "It's not just a room," he murmured. "It's the heart of the house." He looked up at the ceiling, listening to the silence. "And the house is starving." A deep creak echoed again, this time from every direction. The floors, the walls, the ceiling, all groaning together. The air grew hot, thick, suffocating. Emily clutched her chest, gasping for breath. The house pulsed like a living thing. With every throb, the silence grew heavier. They weren't just trapped. They were being digested. Chapter 4. The Escape Attempts. The house groaned again, louder this time, as though it were stretching its bones. Dust cascaded from the ceiling, filling the air with choking grit. Darren clutched his burning leg, teeth clenched against the pain. Emily crouched beside him, whispering prayers under her breath. Lila stared at the closed door at the end of the hall, her eyes wide. Marcus pressed his wounded arm, trembling, but his voice was steady. "It's going to eat us one by one." Emily snapped her head toward him. "Stop saying that." "It's the truth," Marcus muttered. We have to get out before it swallows us whole. Darren hissed through clenched teeth. Then how? The front door won't open. Lila's gaze darted upward toward the staircase. Maybe a window. The silence thickened, as if the house heard her. Reluctantly, they climbed the stairs. Each step creaked, not like wood, but like ribs bending under their weight. Emily held Darren's arm, helping him limp upward. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched unnaturally long. The doors on either side stood crooked, their knobs rusted. But at the end, faint moonlight spilled through a cracked window. There, Lila whispered. Hope flickered in their chests. Marcus limped forward first. The closer they got, the dimmer the moonlight seemed. The glow bent, like it didn't want to reach them. By the time they stood in front of the glass, the light had vanished completely. Only their pale reflections stared back at them. Darren lifted the crowbar with shaking hands. Move back, I'll break it. He swung hard. The crowbar smashed against the window with a sharp crack. The glass didn't break. Instead, it rippled. The surface moved like water, shimmering. Darren stumbled back, eyes wide. What the hell? Their reflections twisted in the glass. Faces stretched into grotesque shapes, mouths wide open in silent screams. Emily covered her mouth with her hands. That's not a window. The surface bulged outward. A pale hand pressed against the glass from the other side. Its fingers were long, too long. Its nails screeched against the glass-like surface. Another hand appeared, and another. The reflections weren't theirs anymore. They were strangers, bloated, eyeless faces, pressing against the barrier. Lila screamed, pulling Emily back. Darren swung again, harder, but the crowbar only sank slightly into the rippling glass. The surface shivered, then spat the metal back out. The pale hands clawed, trying to push through. Marcus grabbed Darren's arm. Stop. It's not a way out. It's a trap. Darren's face twisted with panic. Then what the hell do we do? The air grew heavier, pressing down on their lungs. The house was angry now. Suddenly the floorboards beneath them shuddered. Cracks split across the wood, gaping open like jaws. Black ooze seeped through, writhing upward in tendrils. Emily screamed as one lashed at her ankle. Marcus swung his crowbar, severing it before it could pull her down. The tendril recoiled with a shriek that rattled their bones. We can't stay here, Lila cried. They bolted down the hallway, the floor splitting apart behind them. They stumbled into a bedroom, slamming the door shut. The walls pulsed faintly, like they were breathing. Emily sobbed, hugging herself. It won't let us out. It wants us. Darren leaned against the wall, clutching his blistered leg. His face was ashen. If we don't find another way out, we're food. Marcus paced, breathing hard. The basement, he said suddenly. Old houses like this, there's always a storm cellar, an exit. Lila shook her head. You want to go deeper? That's suicide. It's our only chance, Marcus argued. Up here is a dead end. The walls trembled, as if agreeing. A long crack split across the plaster, black liquid leaking through. Emily screamed and backed away. The ooze dripped down, sizzling where it touched the floor. Darren forced himself upright, sweat pouring down his face. Fine. Basement. We try the basement. Marcus nodded, though his eyes were hollow. We move now, before it swallows us whole. They opened the bedroom door. The hallway beyond was warped, longer than before. Every step echoed like a heartbeat. At the far end, the stairwell yawned open like a throat. And together, with no choice left, they descended into the belly of the house. Chapter 5, The Devouring. The stairs groaned beneath their weight as they descended. Each step felt deeper, longer, as though the basement stretched into an endless pit. Their flashlights flickered weakly, barely pushing back the dark. The air grew damp, foul, like rotting meat soaked in mold. Emily clutched Darren's arm, guiding his limp. Marcus gripped the crowbar tightly, his knuckles bone white. Lila whispered prayers under her breath, her voice shaking. At the bottom, the basement opened wide. The floor was dirt, uneven and cracked. The walls were stone, slick with black ooze. The smell was overwhelming, like blood and rust. In the center stood a single wooden door, old, splintered, and chained shut. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Darren's voice cracked. "Tell me that's the exit." Marcus stared at it, his face pale. "No, that's something else." Emily tugged at his sleeve. "Then where's the way out?" No one answered. The silence pressed harder. From the shadows, a sound slithered, a wet, dragging scrape circling them. The house was no longer hiding. It was hunting. Darren swung his flashlight toward the noise. For a brief second, something moved. A shape, hunched and long. Its limbs bent wrong, joints bending backward. Its skin glistened, slick and black like the ooze. Its mouth stretched across its chest, gaping and wet. Rows of small, jagged teeth shone in the beam. Lila screamed, stumbling back. The creature hissed, low and guttural, vibrating through their bones. "What the hell is that?" Darren shouted. The creature lunged. Its claws slashed across the dirt, spraying soil into the air. Marcus swung the crowbar, striking its arm. The metal sank deep, but the creature didn't bleed. Instead, the crowbar came back slick with slime. The monster screeched, shaking the walls. Emily grabbed Darren, pulling him behind a broken shelf. Lila froze, her back against the wall. The creature's head snapped toward her, its chest mouth stretched wide. "Lila, run!" Marcus shouted, but her legs wouldn't move. The creature lunged, teeth snapping. Lila screamed as its claws wrapped around her waist. She thrashed, kicking, tears streaking her face. "Help me, please!" Marcus and Darren charged forward. They grabbed her arms, pulling with all their strength. The creature pulled the other way, gnashing its endless teeth. Lila's screams echoed, muffled by the silence. With one final jerk, the monster yanked her free. She disappeared into its chest mouth, swallowed whole. The sound was wet, final. Only her echoing scream remained. Emily collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. Marcus roared in rage, swinging the crowbar at the beast. He struck again and again, slime splattering across the dirt. The monster staggered, screeching, then slithered back into the shadows. But Lila was gone. Forever. Darren sank against the wall, face pale, breathing fast. "It's eating us," he whispered. "It's really eating us." Emily wiped her tears, her voice trembling. "We can't fight it. We have to escape." Marcus shook his head, panting. "There is no escape. The house is the room." A loud crack split the ceiling. Dust rained down, stinging their eyes. Above them, the boards shifted. The house moaned, long and deep, like a stomach growling. Darren pushed himself up, clutching his leg. "We're not dying here. Not like Lila." He staggered toward the chained door in the center. Marcus shouted after him, "Don't touch it." But Darren already was. His hands fumbled at the chains, pulling. The wood vibrated beneath his grip, throbbing like flesh. "Maybe this is a way out," Darren gasped. Marcus rushed forward, grabbing him. "No, it's a mouth, not a door." Too late. The chain snapped, falling to the dirt. The wooden plank split apart. A black pit yawned open, deep and endless. From inside came a rushing sound, like 1,000 whispers screaming. The darkness surged upward, swallowing Darren whole. His camera clattered to the floor, its red light blinking. And just like that, only 3 remained. Aitre, Chapter 6, The Last Survivor. Darren was gone. The pit where the chained door had stood pulsed, oozing black liquid that writhed like worms. His camera lay on the dirt, its blinking red light the only sign he had ever existed. Emily clung to Marcus's arm, sobbing. "It's killing us one by one," she whispered. Marcus's face was pale, his jaw clenched. "No, it's eating us." The basement groaned, the sound vibrating through the stone walls. A crack split across the ceiling, dust raining down. The whole house shivered as if alive. The black ooze slithered across the dirt, spreading toward them. Emily pulled Marcus back. "We have to run." He nodded, though his eyes stayed locked on the pit. They bolted up the stairs. Each step squirmed beneath their feet like flesh. Emily screamed as her shoe sank into the wood for a second before pulling free. Marcus yanked her forward, his grip strong despite the blood dripping from his arm. Behind them, the pit howled. A guttural roar shook the entire house. They reached the ground floor, gasping for air. The hallway stretched longer than before, twisting in impossible angles. The front door stood at the end, faintly glowing, as if mocking them. Emily's eyes filled with desperate hope. "It's open! We can get out!" Marcus shook his head. "It's never open." Still, they ran. Their footsteps thudded dully against the warped wood. The air grew heavier with every stride, pressing against their chests. Marcus slammed into the door, shoving with his shoulder. It didn't move. Emily clawed at the knob, tears running down her cheeks. "Please, please let us out." Behind them, the walls bulged outward, like lungs expanding. A deep rumble vibrated the floor. The ceiling above split, black ooze dripping like tar. Marcus roared and swung the crowbar at the wood. It cracked, splintered, but held. The door would not break. Emily turned, her eyes wide with terror. "It won't let us go." From the shadows, the creature slithered back. Its long, broken limbs scraped against the walls. Its chest mouth gaped, drooling slime. Rows of teeth clicked in hunger. Emily shrieked and clung to Marcus. He shoved her behind him, raising the crowbar. "Run when you can," he ordered. "I'll hold it off." "No," Emily cried, but the monster lunged. Marcus swung hard, striking its head. The crowbar sank deep into its slime-slick skull. The beast screeched, flailing wildly. Black ooze splattered across the hallway. Marcus shouted, "Go, Emily, now!" Emily hesitated, tears streaming. Then the monster reared back, slamming Marcus into the wall. The impact shook the house. He screamed, his body pinned by claws. Emily turned and ran, sobbing. Her footsteps echoed down the endless hall. Behind her, Marcus's scream was cut short. A wet crunch followed, the sound of chewing. Emily stumbled, her hands shaking violently. She refused to look back. She refused to see him devoured. At the end of the hall, another door appeared. It wasn't the front door, it was plain, wooden, and slightly open. A faint glow seeped from inside. Emily slowed, her breath ragged. "Please," she whispered. "Please let this be the way out." She pushed it open. Inside was the same hallway she had just left, the same walls, the same ceiling, the same black ooze dripping from above. She turned in horror. Behind her, the hallway was gone. The door closed with a heavy click. Emily screamed, pounding on the wood. "No, please, let me out!" The hallway around her pulsed, throbbing like veins under skin. The walls leaned inward, pressing closer. A low growl rumbled from beneath her feet. She fell to her knees, sobbing. "Don't eat me. Please don't eat me." The silence deepened. Then the floor split open beneath her. Darkness swallowed her whole, and the house sighed, satisfied as the room that eats people finished its meal. Some houses are cursed, some rooms are forbidden, and some places should never be entered at all. The room didn't just kill them, it devoured them body and soul. No one knows when it will open again, but when it does, another name will vanish into its walls. If you're brave enough to hear more nightmares like this, subscribe to Nightmare and step inside with us. But remember, once the door closes, it may never open again.